How does the softest touch create the hardest heart? It is a paradox that haunts the pages of history. We often search for the origin of evil in violence and abuse, but sometimes the seed of the monster is planted not by a blow but by a kiss. In the case of the man who would later burn the world to ash, the story begins with a woman who simply loved too much. It is 1889. Braunau am Inn, a small Austrian border town, sits under a gray sky. Inside the Palmer Inn, the air is thick with anxiety. Klara Pölzl lies in bed exhausted. She is 29 years old. Her eyes are wide with a terrified hope. She holds a newborn baby boy. His name is Adolf. To the world, he is just another Austrian infant. But to Klara, he is a miracle born from a graveyard. You must understand the ghosts in this room. Before Adolf breathed his first breath, Klara had already buried 3 children. Gustav, Ida, Otto. They all died within weeks of each other, taken by diphtheria. Her womb was a tomb. The silence in the house was deafening. So when Adolf survives the first fragile weeks, Klara does not just love him, she worships him. He is her redemption. She looks at him and sees a survivor, a special being chosen by fate to live when others died. This dynamic creates a dangerous psychological seal. Klara is a simple woman with a gentle face and quiet eyes. She comes from a humble background, formerly a maid. She is submissive and quiet. But when it comes to her son, she is fierce. She wraps him in cotton wool. Every cough creates panic. Every cry is answered immediately. The young Adolf learns his first and most fatal lesson. He is the center of the universe. His existence is precious. His needs are paramount. This is the embryonic stage of malignant narcissism, the belief that one is unique and above the common laws of nature. However, there is a shadow in the corner of the room. Adolf Hitler, the father, he is 52 years old, a customs official proud of his uniform and his mustache. He is a man of cold rigidity. He values order, discipline, and blind obedience. To Alois, the boy is not a miracle. He is a subject to be ruled. The household becomes a battlefield of 2 opposing forces, the mother's suffocating indulgence and the father's brutal tyranny. Adolf grows up in this schizophrenic reality. By day, he runs into the arms of Klara, who whispers that he is perfect. By night, he fears the footsteps of Alois, who demands submission. He learns to manipulate this gap. He learns that the feminine is a source of safety and supply, while the masculine is a threat to be resisted. He does not learn empathy. He learns entitlement. He sees his mother not as a person with her own needs, but as a shield designed to protect him. As he grows from an infant into a boy, the pattern solidifies. Klara does the chores. Klara bears the brunt of Alois's bad moods. Klara sacrifices her food so Adi can have the best cuts. He watches this sacrifice with a detached satisfaction. He accepts it as his due. Years later, he will demand this same total sacrifice from the German people. He will expect the nation to starve and bleed for his vision, just as his mother starved and bled for his comfort. The tragedy of Klara Pölzl is not just that she suffered. It is that her suffering taught her son that love means total submission to his will. The glass child is being polished, but the glass is becoming harder than steel. The walls of the Hitler household do not just hold up the roof. They hold secrets that would eventually poison the soul of a continent. As the family moves from Braunau to Passau and eventually to Leonding, the dynamic shifts from tension to terror. Alois Hitler retires from the customs service. A man addicted to authority now has no one to command but his wife and children. The boredom of the father becomes the nightmare of the son. Imagine the dinner table. It is a theater of fear. Alois sits at the head, a heavy, brooding presence. Adolf, now a schoolboy, sits in silence. He watches. He is always watching. When the rage erupts, it is sudden. A spilled glass, a wrong word. The violence is not just physical, it is performative. Alois beats the boy to teach him submission. But something unexpected happens in the boy's mind during these beatings. He does not cry. He counts the blows. He dissociates. He separates his mind from his body. And where is Klara? She is the silent shield. She cannot physically stop the large ex-official, so she uses the only weapon she has, her body and her tears. When the beating stops and Alois storms out to the tavern, Klara rushes to the boy. She does not discipline him. She does not explain that perhaps he was wrong. She weeps over him. She caresses the bruises. She calls him her poor, unfortunate boy. This creates a catastrophic distortion in Adolf's psyche. He begins to view his mother not as a human being, but as a holy martyr, a saint who suffers for him. In his eyes, she is pure. She is the embodiment of the good. But there is a dark lesson hidden here. If Klara is good and Klara is weak, then goodness itself is weak. It gets crushed. It gets beaten. To survive, one must not be like the mother. One must possess the power of the father even while hating him. The psychologist Erik Erikson would later analyze this fracture. Adolf loves the mother, but he subconsciously despises her inability to fight back. He projects this duality onto Germany itself. Decades later in his speeches, he often refers to Germany as a woman, a mother who has been violated, who has been betrayed, who is suffering and needs a savior. He casts himself in the role of the avenging son, this one who will not just weep over the bruises, but will kill anyone who dares to raise a hand against the motherland. But back in the kitchen in Leonding, there is no politics yet, only a toxic intimacy. Klara and Adolf become a conspiratorial unit against the world. She allows him to drop out of reality. When he fails at school, she blames the teachers. When he refuses to work, she blames his delicate health. She enables his laziness because it keeps him close to her. She is building a cage of love. She thinks she is protecting him from the harsh world. In reality, she is crippling his ability to function within it. She is feeding the delusion that he is too special for labor, too special for rules. The silent shield is not just blocking the father's blows, it is blocking the truth. Fate often waits until we are weakest to deliver the killing blow. It is January 1907. Adolf Hitler has been dead for 4 years. Adolf is now 18. He has failed art school. He has no job. He has no direction. He is drifting through Linz on his mother's pension, living the life of a misunderstood genius. But the bubble is about to burst. Klara complains of a pain in her chest. She is a woman who never complains, so the admission itself is terrifying. She visits the family physician, Dr. Eduard Bloch. And here history presents us with a trembling irony. Dr. Bloch is Jewish. He is a kind nobleman. The noble Jew, as Hitler would later call him. Bloch examines Klara and delivers the sentence that stops time. Breast cancer. Advanced, aggressive. The news shatters Adolf's world. The lazy, arrogant teenager vanishes. In his place emerges a frantic, desperate nurse. For the first and perhaps only time in his life, Adolf Hitler steps outside of his own ego. He agrees to the surgery, a radical mastectomy. It is a brutal procedure in 1907 performed on the kitchen table or in sterile cold clinics with primitive anesthesia. But the surgery fails. The cancer has spread. What follows is a descent into a medical nightmare. Dr. Bloch suggests a painful, experimental treatment, iodoform. It is a harsh disinfectant. Gauze strips soaked in iodoform are packed directly into the open wound to burn away the remaining cancer cells. The pain is excruciating. It feels like hot coals on raw flesh. The smell is chemical and cloying. It fills the small apartment. It clings to the curtains. It clings to Adolf's clothes. Adolf does not recoil. He sleeps on a small bed next to his mother. He cooks for her. He cleans the wounds. He holds her hand for hours as she moans in agony. Witnessing this level of suffering changes a man's chemistry. He watches the only person who loves him, the only person who validates his existence, rotting alive. He begins to hate the cosmos. He begins to feel that the universe is fundamentally unjust. Why her? Why the good mother? This trauma bonds him to Dr. Bloch in a strange way. He clings to the Jewish doctor's every word, begging for a cure that does not exist. He bows to him. He thanks him. It is a chilling prelude. The boy who is currently washing the floor to pay for his mother's treatment will one day command the construction of gas chambers. But in this moment, he is just a terrified son fighting an enemy he cannot defeat. The shadow of cancer is not just eating Klara. It is eating the last remnants of Adolf's humanity. The smell of iodoform will never leave him. It is the scent of his own powerlessness, and he will spend the rest of his life trying to ensure he never feels powerless again. The calendar on the wall mocks the dying woman. It is December 1907. Outside the frosted windows of the apartment in Linz, the city is preparing for Christmas. The scent of pine needles and roasted chestnuts drifts through the streets. Children are singing carols about birth and light. But inside the Hitler apartment, there is only the encroaching darkness of the winter solstice. The longest night of the year has arrived, and it has come to claim Klara Pölzl. The final days are a torture that defies description. The cancer has metastasized. It has ravaged her body so completely that she can barely swallow a drop of water. The throat closes, the breathing becomes a rattle. Adolf sits by her bedside like a stone statue. He has not slept properly in weeks. His face is gaunt. His eyes are sunken. He stares at the fading rhythm of her chest. He is witnessing the slow suffocation of his entire world. This is the crucible. Psychological research suggests that witnessing the agonized death of a primary attachment figure can shatter the observer's reality. For Adolf, this is not just the death of a mother. It is the death of the only unconditional love he has ever known. It is the death of his purpose. Without her, he is just a jobless failure with no prospects. With her, he is a beloved son. As the hours tick by, the silence in the room grows heavier than the furniture. On the morning of December 21st, the struggle ends. Klara opens her eyes one last time. The pain finally stops. The rattle ceases. She dies quietly. The light leaves the room. Adolf does not scream. He does not rage. He collapses. It is a total systemic failure of his emotional defenses. He draws a sketch of her on her deathbed, a haunting final portrait. He wants to capture her before the grave takes her. He is trying to freeze time. Der Block arrives to sign the death certificate. He enters the dimly lit room and finds the 18-year-old boy standing beside the corpse. The doctor has seen many deaths. He has seen widows weep and children cry. But he is struck by the scene before him. Decades later in his memoirs, Dr. Block would write a sentence that echoes through history. In all my career, I have never seen anyone so prostrate with grief as Adolf Hitler. Prostrate. It means to be cast down, to be leveled with the ground. Adolf is not just sad, he is destroyed. The tether is cut. The good has died, leaving him alone in a world he perceives as evil. The Christmas bells begin to ring in the distance, celebrating the birth of a savior. But in the apartment at Humboldt Street, number 31, a savior has not been born. A destroyer is being forged in the fires of grief. The boy who stands over his mother's body is no longer a son. He is a hollow vessel, and nature abhors a vacuum. Soon that vessel will be filled with a darkness that will make the whole world mourn, just as he is mourning now. The funeral is a blur of gray and black. It is Christmas Eve. While families in Linz open gifts, Adolf stands in the biting cold at the Landing Cemetery. He watches the coffin lower into the frozen earth. He is burying the only person who ever made him feel human. The fog swallows the small gathering. When the earth hits the wood, it sounds like a door slamming shut forever. He leaves the grave, but he does not leave her behind. He keeps a photograph of Klara, a small sepia portrait. He puts it in his breast pocket, over the heart. He will carry this picture for the next 38 years, through the homeless shelters of Vienna, through the trenches of the First World War, into the Chancellery of Berlin, and finally into the bunker where he will end his own life. The monster always carried the mother, but something shifts in Vienna. The grief hardens, it calcifies. Without Klara's softening influence, the resentment he felt toward his father expands to consume the world. He finds a replacement. If he cannot have his biological mother, he will have a metaphysical one. Mother Germany. He transfers his obsessive protective instinct to the nation. He views Germany just as he viewed Klara. Beautiful, victimized, betrayed by foreign poisons. And just as he could not save Klara from the cancer, he swears he will save Germany from its enemies. In his book Mein Kampf, written years later, he mentions this moment. He writes, "I had honored my father, but I had loved my mother." It is a rare admission of vulnerability, but he follows it with a terrifying resolve. He decides that tears are weak. He decides that pity is a vice. He constructs a persona of ice and iron. The Führer is born from the ashes of the grieving son. He believes that if he can be hard enough, nothing can ever hurt him again. The tragedy reaches its grim conclusion decades later. The man who was broken by the death of one mother, unleashes a war that kills millions of mothers. Jewish mothers, Polish mothers, Russian mothers, German mothers. He sends them to the gas chambers. He sends their sons to the slaughter. He burns the world in a subconscious attempt to avenge the injustice of 1907. The gentle Klara Pölzl, who only wanted to protect her Adi, becomes the unwitting catalyst for the greatest crime in human history. The tether was severed, and the world fell into the abyss.